I became a full-time dad when my son Ethan was 7. After the divorce, I believed my tight-knit family would be our safety net. They promised to be there for us through thick and thin. But promises shatter like glass, sometimes leaving invisible cuts that never quite heal. For 4 consecutive years they skipped Ethan's birthday. 4 years of watching my son pretend not to care. Then came that text about the cabin weekend that broke everything open. Family is not always blood. I learned sometimes it is worth $2. Before I dive into this story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments section. If this is your first time here, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our community. We will journey together through the complicated maze of family relationships. Trust me, this story might just change how you define family forever. Growing up, I thought we were the picture-perfect American family. My parents, Margaret and William Anderson, had 3 children and a beautiful 2-story colonial house in suburban Pennsylvania. My older sister Jessica was the golden child, excelling in academics and later becoming a successful corporate attorney. My younger brother Thomas was the charming one, always talking his way out of trouble and into opportunities. I was Joshua, the middle child, never quite exceptional enough to earn the spotlight in a family that valued achievement above all else. Our family photos showcased beach vacations, holiday gatherings, and backyard barbecues where everyone smiled on cue. My mother meticulously documented these moments for social media, carefully crafting our public image. Behind those smiles were strict expectations and conditional love that I never quite understood until I became a parent myself. When I met Allison during my final year of college, I thought I had found someone who saw me for who I truly was. We married young, bought a modest home, and welcomed our son Ethan into the world. For 7 years we built what I believed was a stable life. My family seemed to approve of our conventional path, though my mother often made subtle comments about our modest income and small home compared to my siblings. Everything changed when Allison received a career opportunity in Seattle. What started as discussions about possibly relocating as a family ended with her decision to move alone. She claimed we had grown apart, that she needed to prioritize her career, and that the distance had actually been building for years. The divorce was civil but painful. When custody arrangements were finalized, I became Ethan's primary caregiver, while Allison agreed to monthly video calls and summer visits. I was suddenly a single father at 32, balancing a job in marketing with school drop-offs, soccer practices, and helping with multiplication tables. My initial panic subsided when my family stepped up, at least temporarily. My mother watched Ethan after school for the first month. My father helped me understand child support paperwork. Even my siblings brought over meals and offered encouraging words. Their support, however, evaporated like morning dew under a hot Sunday. Within 3 months, my mother claimed watching Ethan was too tiring at her age. My father became suddenly busy with his retirement hobbies. My siblings had their own families to prioritize. I adjusted found after-school programs, learned to cook meals that a 7-year-old would actually eat, and worked out a schedule that allowed me to be both provider and parent. When Ethan's 8th birthday approached, I was determined to make it special. It would be his first birthday since the divorce, and I wanted to show him that our new family configuration could still be joyful. I planned a superhero-themed party at our local park, invited his classmates, and asked my family to come help. Everyone agreed enthusiastically, with my mother promising to bring her famous homemade birthday cake. 3 days before the party, the cancellations began. My mother called claiming she had developed a migraine and could not possibly bake or attend. My father would not come without her. Thomas texted about a sudden work emergency. Jessica said her children had back-to-back activities that could not be missed. I scrambled to order a bakery cake and recruited 2 parent friends to help supervise the party games. That evening, as I tucked an excited Ethan into bed, I scrolled through my phone to check final party details. A notification from my cousin's social media account appeared, showing new photos from an afternoon wine tasting event. There, smiling with glasses raised, stood my parents, Jessica, her husband, and Thomas. The timestamp showed it had been posted that very afternoon during my mother's supposed migraine episode. The party went well enough for the children, but I felt a heaviness in my chest throughout the day. When Ethan blew out his candles surrounded by schoolmates but no grandparents, no aunt, no uncle, no cousins, something in me cracked. That night, after the sugar crash had sent him to sleep early, he woke from a bad dream and asked me the question that would echo in my mind for years. "Do not they love me, Dad? Is that why nobody from our family came?" I spent weeks attempting to address what happened with each family member individually. My mother responded with dismissive comments. "You chose this life when you decided to stay here after the divorce. We cannot rearrange our schedules every time Ethan has an event." My father, as usual, deferred to whatever my mother decided. Jessica offered condescending advice about being more organized and giving them more notice, despite having had 2 months advance warning. Thomas made empty promises to do better next time that never materialized. What confused me most was their continued expectation of my presence at family events. I was expected to bring Ethan to Sunday dinners to contribute to family gift exchanges to help set up for summer barbecues. When Jessica's daughter had a ballet recital, my mother called 3 times to ensure we would attend. When my father needed help installing new kitchen cabinets, I was expected to spend 2 weekends on the project. The support was decidedly one-directional. As Ethan's 9th birthday approached, I adjusted my expectations. I planned a smaller celebration at a local pizza arcade, invited fewer friends, and gave my family over 2 months' notice. All of them confirmed their attendance a week before. The day before the party, the familiar pattern repeated itself. One by one, they called with excuses. This time, my brother did not even bother to fabricate a work emergency, simply saying something came up. That evening, my cousin inadvertently tagged me in photos from my niece Amanda's dance recital. There was my entire family, 3 generations gathered in support. They had coordinated corsages for the women and boutonnieres for the men. They had taken Amanda to a celebration dinner afterward. Not one of them had mentioned this event to me or Ethan, despite it clearly being planned weeks in advance. When I showed up at the pizza arcade with just 3 of Ethan's friends, the party host asked, "Is this everyone?" Ethan quickly answered, "Yep, just us. My other family is busy. It is okay, though, these are the people I want here." His forced smile and brave words cut deeper than any tantrum could have. He was learning to expect disappointment to preemptively protect himself from rejection. At 9 years old, my son was developing emotional calluses. By the time Ethan's 10th birthday approached, I stopped expecting family involvement. Instead, I planned something special just for us, a weekend camping trip at Shenandoah National Park. Ethan had been fascinated by stars and wildlife, so this seemed perfect. Still, I sent a casual invitation to my family, suggesting they could join us for an afternoon hike and birthday cookout if they wanted no pressure. To my surprise, Thomas actually showed up. He arrived as we were setting up our cookout, presented Ethan with an expensive telescope, and then proceeded to check his phone repeatedly. After barely 30 minutes and a few bites of hot dog, he announced he had to leave. Ethan had barely had time to thank him for the gift before Thomas was pulling away in his luxury SUV, leaving a cloud of dust and disappointment. That evening, while Ethan tested out his new telescope, I checked my phone for the weather forecast. My social media feed showed multiple family members posting from my grandfather's surprise 80th birthday party. Photos showcased a catered event at my parents' country club, with at least 30 family members present, including relatives who had flown in from across the country. Ethan and I had not received so much as a text message about this significant family milestone. Under the star-filled sky, Ethan asked me questions about family that I struggled to answer. "Why do they keep forgetting about us, Dad? Is it because Mom left? Are they mad at you?" At me? I explained that adults sometimes make choices that have nothing to do with the children in their lives. That he was lovable and worthy regardless of their actions. We talked about how families come in many forms, and sometimes the people who show up for you are not always the ones connected by blood. But the conversation left a bitter taste in my mouth. I was running out of gentle explanations for cruel behavior. Around this time, I began noticing something else about my family dynamic. Money flowed in only one direction, from me to them. Despite earning less than both my siblings, I was often the first person they called for financial assistance. When Thomas needed emergency car repairs, I loaned him $2,000 that was never fully repaid. When Jessica faced unexpected medical bills for her daughter, I contributed $1,500 toward the total. For my parents' 40th anniversary, I pitched in significantly for their luxury cruise, despite my tight budget as a single parent. I also maintained a shared family credit card that had originally been created for emergency purposes. Over time, family members began using it for non-emergency purchases, restaurant meals. When relatives visited, town supplies for family parties, I was expected to attend, but rarely enjoyed gas for family road trips that somehow never had room for Ethan and me. There was also a family vacation fund that had started during our childhood. All 3 adult children were expected to contribute monthly. The funds supposedly went toward an annual family vacation rental. Yet Ethan and I had not been included in trip planning for the past 3 years, always finding out about these gatherings after they occurred. As Ethan's 11th birthday approached, I noticed his increasing indifference. When I asked what kind of celebration he wanted, he shrugged and said, "Nothing big, Dad. Just you and me. We do not need anyone else." The resignation in his voice felt like a personal failure. What kind of father could not ensure his child felt loved and celebrated by his extended family? I planned a day of Ethan's favorite activities, breakfast at his favorite diner, an afternoon at the Science Museum with its new dinosaur, exhibit and dinner at the Japanese steakhouse where chefs cooked at your table. He seemed genuinely happy with our plans, never once asking if any family members would join us. He had stopped expecting them to care. On his actual birthday, not a single family member called. My mother sent a generic text message the following day. My father sent nothing. My siblings remained silent. I ordered a small cake. We blew out candles together, and Ethan went to bed, clutching the new science kit I had saved up to buy him. The following weekend, while helping Ethan with a school project, I absent-mindedly opened my social media app during a break. The algorithm, perhaps with cruel precision, suggested I might like photos recently posted by my cousin. There, flooding my screen, were dozens of images from a lavish family gathering at an expensive lake cabin. The location tags and captions revealed this was a 3-day event spanning the exact weekend of Ethan's birthday. Every branch of my family tree was represented in those photos. My parents' siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, and all their children posed on a boat around a bonfire in a game room. There were professional quality photographs of a catered dinner with custom cocktails named after family inside jokes. There were videos of my father teaching younger cousins to fish, my mother coordinating a family talent show, my siblings leading a twilight hike. It was not just another family event we had been excluded from. This was a significant, planned, expensive gathering, deliberately scheduled during my son's birthday weekend, with every family member fully aware of the conflict, yet choosing to attend anyway. This was not an oversight. It was a statement about where Ethan and I ranked in the family hierarchy. I closed the app and returned to helping Ethan with his project, my mind spinning with painful clarity. For years I had made excuses for their behavior, blamed logistics, timing, misunderstandings. Now I saw the pattern for what it truly was: systematic exclusion, thinly veiled as unfortunate circumstances. 4 days after Ethan's birthday, as this realization was still raw, my phone pinged with a text message from my mother. $3,400 for the cabin weekend. Everyone's chipping in. Please, send your share by Friday. The message continued with details about what the money covered: lakefront cabin rental, boat rental for 2 days, catering for the final dinner, a professional photographer, and party supplies. She concluded with, "It was such a special family time. Sorry you missed it. We will have to get you there next year." I stared at the message for a full 5 minutes, my hands shaking with a combination of hurt and rage. Not only had they deliberately excluded us from a significant family gathering on my son's birthday, but they expected me to help fund their enjoyment. This was not just thoughtless, it was cruel. That evening, after Ethan was asleep, I began a methodical examination of our family's financial entanglements. I reviewed years of shared credit card statements documenting who had charged what and for what purpose. I tracked my contributions to the family vacation fund against actual invitations received. I listed loans made to family members and their repayment status. I calculated the cost of gifts given versus received for holidays and birthdays. The numbers told a story even more damning than I had suspected. Over the past 4 years, I had contributed approximately $20,000 toward family expenses, events, and needs. During that same period, I had received less than $2,000 worth of reciprocal support, including gifts for Ethan. I had funded portions of at least 6 family gatherings to which we were not invited. I had covered emergency expenses for siblings who made significantly more money than I did. What was most disturbing was the pattern in the shared credit card. In the weeks leading up to the cabin weekend, there were numerous charges: expensive grocery stores, liquor shops, sporting goods, rentals, gas stations near the lake. Multiple family members had used our emergency card to fund their exclusive celebration, likely assuming I would not check the statements until the monthly bill arrived. At that moment, something shifted inside me. The hurt transformed into resolve. The confusion clarified into purpose. I was done being the family doormat. I was finished funding my own exclusion. Most importantly, I was no longer willing to let my son internalize the message that he was somehow less worthy of love and celebration than his cousins. I crafted my response carefully. Using a money transfer app, I sent my mother exactly $2 along with the note "wrong guest list." Then I systematically dismantled our financial entanglements. I called the credit card company to lock the shared card and remove authorized users. I contacted the bank to freeze the family vacation fund account pending review. I documented and formally disputed every unauthorized charge made for the cabin weekend, flagging them as fraudulent since they were made for an event from which we were explicitly excluded. The reaction was swift and furious. My phone exploded with messages from every family member. My mother called 17 times in 1 hour. My father left voicemails expressing disappointment in my childish behavior. My sister sent paragraphs about how I was tearing the family apart over nothing. My brother alternated between threatening legal action and attempting to guilt me with references to our parents' feelings. When their individual approaches failed to move me, they escalated. They attempted to make withdrawals and charges anyway, triggering fraud alerts. When these were denied, they formally reported the transactions as fraudulent, claiming I had illegally blocked legitimate family expenses. This prompted a call from the bank's fraud department, who contacted me to verify my actions. "Mr. Anderson," the bank representative said, "your family members claim you are maliciously blocking access to shared accounts. They say these are legitimate family expenses that you agreed to. Can you clarify the situation from your perspective?" I smiled as I replied, "I would be happy to provide evidence that these accounts have been systematically misused without my consent for events from which my son and I were deliberately excluded. I have documented 4 years of financial contributions to family gatherings we were never invited to attend, including charges made for an event specifically scheduled to conflict with my 11-year-old son's birthday. I am exercising my right to protect my financial interests from exploitation." There was a long pause before the representative responded, "I see, sir. Given the circumstances, your actions appear justified. We will maintain the blocks on these accounts pending further investigation. Would you like to close these joint accounts entirely?" "Yes," I answered, without hesitation. "I would like to terminate all shared financial arrangements." My family, realizing their financial manipulation had failed, called an emergency family meeting. The stated purpose was to talk sense into Joshua about his overreaction. My mother selected a public restaurant, likely assuming I would not make a scene in front of strangers. She underestimated how thoroughly my priorities had shifted. I arrived at the meeting with a binder containing printed evidence, credit card statements, with their unauthorized charges, highlighted a timeline of missed birthdays, alongside family events they had prioritized. Instead, screenshots of social media posts documenting their deliberate exclusion of Ethan, and a spreadsheet detailing the financial imbalance of our relationship. Before anyone could speak, I placed the binder on the table and said, "Before we begin, I want to be clear. This meeting is not about convincing me to resume financial support. This meeting is me informing you of the new boundaries in our relationship. I spoke calmly but firmly about the pattern I had observed. I described Ethan's repeated heartbreak when his family failed to show up for him. I detailed the financial exploitation I had documented. I explained that my primary responsibility was to protect my son from people who consistently demonstrated that they did not value him. For 4 years, I concluded, I have watched my son learn to expect disappointment from the people who should love him most. I have watched him pretend not to care when his birthday is forgotten, while his cousins receive lavish celebrations. I have funded family events we were never welcome to attend. That ends today. My son deserves better, and so do I. My mother attempted to interrupt with explanations about family traditions and misunderstandings. My sister tried to minimize the pattern as a series of unfortunate coincidences. My brother suggested therapy for my obvious issues with rejection. My father largely remained silent, occasionally nodding at whatever my mother said. I listened without argument, then stood to leave. You have made your priorities clear through your actions. I am now making mine clear through mine. Ethan and I will no longer be available for one-sided relationships. If and when you are ready to be actual family to both of us, you know how to reach me. As I walked out of that restaurant, leaving my stunned family behind, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. For the first time in years, I was not carrying the burden of their approval. I was not straining to justify their treatment of my son. I was simply a father protecting his child from unnecessary hurt, and a man respecting his own worth. The 6 months following my stand were challenging, but clarifying. I maintained minimal contact with my biological family, responding politely, but briefly to the occasional message. I declined invitations to family gatherings that suddenly materialized, explaining that Ethan and I had prior commitments. I returned birthday checks sent to Ethan with a note suggesting they donate the money to a children's charity instead. During this period, our father-son bond deepened in ways I had not anticipated. Without the background anxiety of managing family disappointments, I was more present and relaxed. Ethan, sensing the shift, began to open up about his feelings regarding the divorce, his mother's distance, and his former relationship with his extended family. We had difficult but healing conversations about belonging, worthiness, and choosing your community. We established new traditions just for us: Saturday morning pancake experiments, monthly night hikes with his science club, visiting a different museum on holiday weekends. I reached out to other single parents at Ethan's school and formed informal support networks. My coworkers, learning about our situation, began including us in their family gatherings. Our next-door neighbor, a retired teacher, became something of a surrogate grandmother to Ethan, teaching him to garden and attending his school presentations. Gradually, we built a chosen family around us. People who showed up consistently and with genuine care. Ethan's confidence bloomed in this atmosphere of reliable support. His academic performance improved. His nightmares decreased. He stopped asking questions about why certain people did not love him enough. 3 months into our new normal, I unexpectedly encountered my sister Jessica at the grocery store. I had been avoiding our usual shared spaces, but had not considered the possibility of running into family during routine errands. She spotted me first, hovering uncertainly by the produce section before approaching. "Joshua," she said, her confident attorney persona noticeably subdued. "How have you been? How is Ethan?" "We are doing well," I replied, keeping my tone neutral but not hostile. "How are you? And the kids?" She launched into an awkward attempt at small talk before finally addressing the elephant in the room. "The family is not the same without you two. Mom keeps setting places for you at Sunday dinner, even though she knows you will not come. Dad keeps asking if I have heard from you." "Jessica," I said gently but firmly, "I cannot return to a dynamic where Ethan's feelings are consistently disregarded. He deserves better than to be an afterthought in his own family." To my surprise, she did not immediately defend our parents or minimize our concerns. Instead, she sighed deeply and admitted, "Things have been tense since you stood up to Mom. It made some of us start questioning patterns we have always accepted. Thomas and I have been talking about how Mom has always controlled everything, including who gets attention and who gets excluded. I never realized how much I was playing into it until you stopped participating." Her candor caught me off guard. For the first time, I saw my sister not as a competitor for family approval, but as another adult shaped by the same dysfunctional system. "I am sorry it came to this," I told her honestly. But I could not continue pretending everything was okay when Ethan was being hurt repeatedly. "I understand that now," she replied. "For what it is worth, I am sorry. For all of it, but especially for missing Ethan's birthdays. He is an amazing kid, and I have been a terrible aunt." We parted with no dramatic reconciliation, no promises of immediate family healing. But something had shifted. Jessica had acknowledged the reality of our experience rather than dismissing it. It was a small opening, a tiny crack in the family facade. I left it as a possibility that healthy relationships might someday be rebuilt, but I maintained my boundaries in the meantime. As Ethan's 12th birthday approached, I focused on creating a celebration with the people who had proven themselves to be our true community. We planned a backyard science Olympics with stations for different experiments. I invited neighbors, school friends, and their parents, my supportive coworkers, and Ethan's favorite teachers. The response was overwhelming, with everyone not only accepting but offering to contribute food activities and decorations. The day of the party arrived, sunny and perfect. Our yard filled with people who genuinely cared about Ethan's happiness. Children ran between experiment stations, adults chatted and helped supervise, and Ethan beamed with the simple joy of being surrounded by people who wanted to be there. No one was checking their watch or making excuses to leave early. No one was there out of obligation. The surprise moment came when Ethan's science teacher arrived with members of the astronomy club, bringing a professional telescope for nighttime stargazing. As darkness fell, our guests gathered in the yard to view Jupiter's moons and Saturn's rings. Watching my son confidently explaining constellations to his friends, I felt a profound sense of peace. We had created something authentic and valuable from the ashes of rejection. The financial boundaries I had established also transformed our lives in unexpected ways. Without the constant drain of supporting family who did not reciprocate, I found myself with resources to invest in what truly mattered. I started a college fund for Ethan, something that had seemed impossible while I was helping fund family vacations we never attended. I enrolled him in the science camp he had always wanted to attend, but I had previously deemed too expensive. I also began making small investments in my own future, taking online courses to enhance my marketing skills and exploring possibilities for advancement at work. The mental freedom from financial exploitation translated into creative energy I had not experienced in years. The most profound change, however, was in our emotional landscape. The constant background hum of anxiety about family approval had disappeared. I no longer braced for disappointment or crafted careful explanations for Ethan about why people who should love him chose repeatedly not to show up. We no longer structured our calendar around events where we were treated as afterthoughts. Looking back over the year since I sent that $2 payment, I realized the valuable lesson hidden within the pain. Family is defined not by blood, but by consistent actions of love and respect. Worth is not determined by others' ability to recognize it. Boundaries are not just walls to keep harmful people out, but foundations upon which healthy relationships can be built. Most importantly, I learned that by protecting my son, I ultimately protected myself as well. Every time I advocated for Ethan's right to be valued, I reinforced my own worth. Every boundary I established for his emotional well-being strengthened my own resilience. In standing firm against those who would diminish him, I reclaimed parts of myself that had been eroded by years of conditional acceptance. Today, Ethan and I have more authentic relationships, more financial stability, and more emotional peace than we ever had when striving to maintain connections with people who consistently devalued us. We have discovered that family can be created, chosen, and nurtured based on mutual respect rather than mere biological connection. The $2 I sent with that note turned out to be the best investment I ever made in our happiness. I believe we all face moments where we must decide what we will accept in the name of family. Have you ever had to establish difficult boundaries with loved ones to protect yourself or your children? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more stories about navigating complex family dynamics. Your support helps this channel grow, and your shared experiences remind us all that we are not alone in these challenges. Thank you for listening, and remember that sometimes the family you choose is more precious than the family you were born into.